Did I do this right? All right, let me see real quick. I'm going to make sure. I don't think I switched the restream, so I just need to make sure that this is looking right. I might have two of these listed. If so, yeah, no, I did the wrong one. Let me do this. I'm going to kill this real quick, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to kill the other stream that I have and then rename this one. All right, let me see here. It's today 14th. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is the right stream, guys. So we're up and running. Sorry about that. It's been a crazy morning already. Markets are not looking pretty. We're going to go over a bunch of stuff. We're going to hit some of the basics. So as you can see, pre-market looks ugly as fuck. Not much different than what we saw yesterday. Just lots of bleeding. We got Tesla down 4.5% this morning, looking to try and test towards the 350, 360 range. That's not even the worst of it. I mean, if you look over at iron, you've got it down another 9% this morning. You got MicroStrategy down over 6. It was down 7 a second ago, sitting around the 190 range, 195 currently. You've got CleanSpark down 8%. You've got Metaplanet actually up on the day, which is wild, in Germany. It hasn't opened in the United States yet. And then in Japan, it was up 0.48%. But again, it had a pretty big flush out yesterday because people were starting to talk about the potential for regulation in Japan hurting that company. I don't think any of that's true. They're actually really well positioned for it. And I think, if anything, it means that they're not going to have any competition. I want to focus, though. I want to focus on a few things that I think we definitely need to talk about, because things have not went the way I've hoped for, and maybe you too as well. And I think a lot of people, especially if you've been invested in crypto and focused on Bitcoin for really the last year and a half, you've been pretty fucked. Sure, Bitcoin has went up, but treasuries are down immensely. Even miners outside of HPC plays have sucked. And you just haven't gotten the return. It would have been a better play just to buy some IBIT and follow Bitcoin than to track leveraged plays. So people that have been in leverage have just been butchered. And I'd love to say that that's coming to an end, but we just need to be realistic and talk about a bunch of things. First off, I'm going to stay pretty long here, but I'm also going to focus on TLT, my hedge. That has not worked well over the short term. It looks like it's going to work this morning. It's up 0.51%. It's a trade that Paul Tudor Jones has been talking about. He said this might sound boring, but with gold at record highs, with the stock market at record highs, with Bitcoin at record highs, boring might just be right, because he strongly believes that the Fed is going to try and get down to the 2.5 range next year, which is significantly lower than today. And then if they're using yield curve, it's just, this is a way for me to ensure that maybe I can make $1 million on a really poor performing market. And so I'm going to stick with that. I might even lean into that. I'm not going to lie. Real quickly, though, let's go down. I want to talk about some of the key points that I'm looking to make. So this is the first one, guys, on days like today especially, and maybe I should have been talking about this a month ago. Wish to God, instead of selling 55% of my CleanSpark calls, probably like 3 weeks ago, 2.5, whatever it was, I wish I would have sold all of them. I wish I would have sold all of my Mara. I wish I would have exited, sold, and BMNR or BMNU. I did end up exiting the 2x leverage funds. I got out of Tesla. People were like, hey, should I get Tesla calls? I'm like, fuck no. I'm just getting the stock. So I did some things right, but God, I wish I would have just liquidated that shit, called it good, thought about the risks a little bit better, because we've just been butchered. Seasonality definitely has not played our way. Historical trends have not played our way. We're looking at right now the worst November since the great financial crisis. I don't think we're there. I don't think this is the great financial crisis, but as sure as fuck hurts either way. So I wanted to start off with this. I wanted to say what you should not be doing right now, okay? I said the best advice I can give at this decisive time in markets is that you have to ensure you can live to fight another day. So in my opinion, that means no long calls in crypto, AI, etc. Do not go long and leverage something that has went up over 1,000%. And when I say that, I'm talking about iron. This is a double top, guys. The measured move gets us down to like 37. It's already down here under the fib at 44. Can it go lower? Yeah, it could go to 37. If the market melts down, maybe it goes lower than that. But I just don't think when you have an investment that even today is up, well, let's see, that's pre-market, is up 750% for the year from the low. Do not fucking put leverage on this play. If you are thinking about doing this because you have a lot of cash, and again, you do you. I have not exactly performed the way I wanted to this year, but applying leverage when Bitcoin has already went from 15,000 to 125,000, and then when you have a clear double top pattern that gets you down to the 30s, is not a good idea. You don't want to leverage into something that already went up over 1,000% today. And that applies to like Cypher. That applies to MicroStrategy. Well, I mean, again, MicroStrategy, if we're truly in a bear market, I mean, don't get me wrong, this thing's getting fucked. It's getting utterly fucked. Down almost 7% today, 7% yesterday. People are treating this like it's the end of times. I don't think that's true. I think Michael Saylor is a great guy. This thing has already dropped 63, almost 64% from its high. So, again, can you buy this stock? Sure, but stay away from leverage. Just stay away from leverage. It cannot serve you, especially if you're looking. The only leverage I have, guys, are two things right now. And one of them is ARKG, which is, again, down, but not down nearly as much as this other stuff. And it being down, it is down from its high by almost 80 fucking percent, 77% from where it was almost 5 years ago. So when I'm looking at this one, I feel pretty good about the direction and the capability, especially when some of my calls go out to January of 2028. I feel good about this. Also, TLT, again, if Paul Tudor Jones is right and the most boring trade is back, this is going to be a great trade. And I like yesterday it didn't play right. It didn't go up yesterday when the market was going down. That makes me a little sad. But today it's starting to. And so I've got 330, 350, something like that. I don't know exactly where it's at right now. $250,000 sitting in this play. If it goes up the 22% just to this cavern over here of volume, if it just does that, I should be able to make almost $1 million on this investment. And if the market really falls apart, the stock market, Bitcoin, if gold is down today, guys. So we've got the potential for gold topping. The only thing that really appears to be working outside of some individual select equities and things like that, and maybe some commodities, is it's not gold today. I mean, look at this. These are two really big wicks. If you look at the weekly time frames, guys, or even like the monthly setup, that was a wicked monthly candle. This isn't looking like it's going to close much better unless it starts to climb. At the very least, the weekly doesn't look good on this right now. So gold looks toppy. Bitcoin could be toppy. We'll look at some of those charts. Those are scary looking too. We're right on the precipice. Whatever's happening, whether it be the bounce or whether it's over, we are at the doorstep of it. And so, again, I just want to reiterate, the only things, and also with TLT, the thing I want to mention again, and I know today's painful, guys. Fuck, I get it, man. I am in the trenches with you right now. But I do still like the bond market because, again, it's down 50%. And this is the bond market. The bond market had a route that it hadn't seen since the early 1800s, in some cases, late 1700s. And if you're a scholar or an historian, you know when this country was founded, right? So we see that this thing can go up 20 to 40%. Here's a 42% move in roughly a year. And I've got leaps that can go out 2. So I'm feeling, or I should say with this one, that go out 1. Because I think that's the right time frame. I mean, we're already starting to form that bounce, right? Looks like a W bounce. Really the measured move for the W bounce, if it were to play out fully, it would probably look more like this. Let me just move it over. So this is a play I'm sticking with. I got $750,000 Also, it's like right around to this peak, you could hit something like that and then hit resistance. So I think the 110 to 120 range on TLT looks really pretty to me. And I'm holding on to that because if we do have some crazy route, I want to be able to benefit from it. Also, since I'm only in Tesla stock, if Tesla gets crushed, maybe it goes down to 350, maybe it goes down to 300. If that happens, I can slowly sell my Tesla stock and start to put it into options. From my experience, there's no rush in doing this. When you have a precipitous drop in something, the options usually don't rebound right away because people are scared. So it's the stock they jump into first. It's the options when they get excited. So you should have some indicators before that happens. Let me look at chat. I got to start responding to you guys. Connor, fear and greed is through the floor. Doesn't that say it's the bottom? It could be, but here's something you got to look at. Okay, let's do this real quick. Let's go to the fear and greed. We'll go to the CNN one first. I think that might be the better indicator. Or you know what? Maybe not. Let's go to the crypto one. So could that mean that it's the bottom? It could, but it could also mean this right over here. Well, I should say this. The end of the bull market, yes, it should be. It should mark the bottom. But because we didn't have exuberance. I mean, if you look over here, guys, we were in look at the levels we were at over here, October 6th, index 71. So again, drifting into greed, but nothing crazy. Really, either we peaked, look at this, November of 2024. Isn't that fucking insane? We weren't really in extreme greed, guys, since November of 2024. So essentially, this entire fucking year has not been an extreme greed for crypto. It's just been kind of fucking miserable. But does it mean it's a bottom? No, it could be that way for a while. That's part of the problem. You could stay down here like we just got down here. I mean, look over here in May of 2022. May was not the bottom in 2022. In fact, the bottom wasn't really found in the stock market until we started to go higher. And even crypto until we started to go higher. Again, like you could see some recovery here, but this grounded out. I mean, what time frame was this? May 10th to July 11th before we even started getting out of extreme fear. So that was like 5-6 weeks. And it could be worse. I lost all my year-to-date gains. That sucks. Good morning, Dario. CME gap is 92K as well. Yeah, that is one thing to keep an eye on. So let's look at something real quick. Let me go through this. I want to go through the rest. No margin. Don't be in margin. If we're truly at the end of this Bitcoin cycle, and again, I think it would be insane for us to, and we're going to talk about all the reasons why I think it's insane for us to be at the end of the Bitcoin cycle. But you just have to mentally be prepared. And if you're on margin, you could be a forced liquidator at the worst fucking possible time. Because all of a sudden, there's just this massive wick down because some crazy shit happened. What are you going to do if the tariffs get rejected? Is that going to benefit markets? Or is that going to fuck them? Is that going to help the bond market? Or is that going to fuck the bond market? It's probably going to fuck the bond market. So then my hedge goes away if these tariffs are repealed and we don't have another strategy. That's a potential future. I don't think it's likely, but it could happen. What happens if we go to war with China? What happens if Trump is confirmed to be a pedophile in the Epstein files and just shits? There's so many things that can happen. I think that what we're going to experience is going to be a bounce and we're going to go higher. But you just have to remember, no margin, definitely no long leaps, definitely no 2 to 3x funds right now. If they chop sideways, they can destroy you. If they drop too fast, too quick in one day, they could literally blow up and the fund is dead. Okay? A 3x fund, you can't get more than a 33% drop in a day or that thing could be fucking illiquid. Okay? So just, and these things, 2x and 3x funds are like lazy option contracts. They give you all the downside risk, if not more, because again, tracking errors, they're using derivatives markets to try and reproduce something. And so you can get utterly fucked on that. And then at the same time, you don't get the upside that a well-calculated options contract can get. So if I'm saying stay away from long calls in this area, because again, almost everything's right off record highs. Even the Bitcoin gold ratio is breaking down against Bitcoin even more. Now, don't get me wrong, this could be a temporary thing. We bounce out of it. Everything's good. Everybody realizes that Bitcoin's the right play. I still believe that. But when will people realize it? Right now, we got people talking about Michael Saylor selling Bitcoin. It's complete bullshit, but does it matter right now? It doesn't seem to matter to the stock as it's down 7% this morning. I'm also saying just make sure you have money to live. Make sure you can pay your tax bill in April. Make sure you have money to keep the lights on for years. Don't put yourself in a position where you're forced to sell again at the worst possible time to pay your fucking bills. I get that this is a scary time. I totally get it. I don't think the AI bubble popped. I think we barely even started one. I see nobody. Sure as fuck, Elon Musk is not slowing down at all, especially with the massive cash position he has. Realize all these companies that are building out AI outside of OpenAI, which is shit, and Sam Altman's probably a murderer, in my advice. They could have problems, and that could cause some other issues with orders. But do you think Meta has problems? How much fucking cash do they have? Do you think Tesla has problems? No, they've got tons of money. They are not going to slow down. They're going to keep building. So I just don't think you can say the AI bubble has popped. I think that's a retarded statement. I'm not saying you're retarded. Could be. I don't really know you. You're just Guy, right? But but I think it's really stupid to say that the AI bubble has popped. There is so much cash sitting on the sidelines in the Mag 7. It's just a dumb thing to even think that. James Sebastian, 1,000% guys, BTC is 30K down from all-time high. It used to be 30 cents. Yeah. It can always, again, guys, we could just go back up. Here's the thing. I think what we're seeing right now is the potential for a washout of the 4-year bros. And I honestly was a 4-year bro. And I think that what we're seeing is capitulation out of some of them. They're scared. And again, I do think we're at that IPO moment from Jordy Visser. I think that we're at a time where, Ron Barron's talking about Elon Musk on CNBC. I love him. We might have to check that out at some time. But for now, we're at a time where you just need to realize that I think OG whales who are billionaires, they're slowly selling. Why wouldn't they, man? They have their dream. They accomplished their dream. They rode this shit out longer than anybody. They did what they wanted to do. And they're good. They're like, I'm buying the villa, you know? And so if that's happening, that's created, I think, this pressure. And you can see the OG whales map. Like, you can see that. You can see how we've had more selling pressure from them. Cycle isn't over. I think it's not over. But it doesn't mean that it can't have a weird hiccup and that it might not be 4 years anymore, right? So maybe we have a hiccup. We have like a little mini bear. We've had mini bulls before. Why couldn't I mean, before 2021, before we had our big peak, we had a time where the market shot up a bunch after the 2017 collapse into 2019. It shot up a bunch and everybody thought we were already in the bull market. Then it went down like crazy. Then the fucking pandemic happened. Who called the pandemic? I mean, I called it probably earlier than most, but boy, did it destroy Bitcoin's price action. It went down into the 3,000s, right? We were right back to where we were before and everybody thought the world was ending. I didn't. That's where I thrive. I thrive at extreme chaos. My only worry right now is that we haven't seen it because we're still off all-time highs on fucking everything. And despite the fact that I think the economy is getting ready to ramp up and be amazing, we have to realize that there are risks. Oh, Ron Barron? What? With interview? Oh, yeah. Ron Barron. Yeah. Sorry. I had Paul Tudor Jones in my head. But yeah, we should listen to Ron Barron because I think that's good. But I want to talk about just the broader markets first before we go too far down that rabbit hole. Again, you got people lying right now and saying that Saylor just started selling because they're either retarded or maybe they're short. You've got Bitcoin, if you look in the bottom right corner, it's already delved into that first layer of green and found support there. And now it's going into like the heavy layer where we have a gap again in the CME down to 92,000, and then we have strong support in the 91, 92 from the previous fib. But here's the thing. If that holds, or if we close down there, we could overshoot that, and it could get even worse. I do think that the market is likely to continue, but maybe we get a washout of all these 4-year bros. Maybe we get a washout of people that have lesser conviction. And if you're in leverage and margin, you might not fucking make it. You probably won't. If things get worse, you probably won't. So just remember what happened to the crypto bros like fucking less than 3 weeks ago. They were destroyed. My best, getting close to my best day was also my worst day because we literally had shit coins down 50 fucking % in a day, just imploding. It was insane. Now, could there be collateral damage still from that? Maybe. We just don't know. Over the short term, we don't know. Okay? So you only have BTB stock. Well, I hope you have really high conviction in it. Do you have cash then too, Gemini? Hopefully you do. Connor, H1, Jesse, we can't see the price of BTC. Can you adjust? Oh, yeah, sure. It's 95,255. And I'll adjust. I'll try and zoom in a little bit here too. But again, you can see where we're at peak volumes here for this last, since the beginning of the year. We're at peak volumes. Well, I guess it's a little less than the beginning of the year, last 6 months. So and we've dropped down to 94s already this morning. So, again, there's just potential for a decent chunk of downside. Just be ready for everything. Don't lose everything because you didn't have a long enough time horizon. And don't get me wrong, I thought I had more time. And with this little bloop, my clean spark calls, dust, my Mara calls, they could be dust. They're December. Maybe it turns around. It's starting to feel optimistic. But I should have gotten out of those earlier. I'd probably have an extra $1.5 million, $2 million, probably $1.5 million between the two. If I had just exited them like 3 weeks ago, I would have that. But hindsight is always 20/20. You can always look back and be like, oh, yeah, that was very clear. You can also lie to yourself and tell yourself you did everything right, and you shouldn't do that. You should be honest. I regret not taking profits when I could. I think there's a ton of us, dude. I think if you've been in crypto and Bitcoin, I think there's probably a shit ton of you. Even if you've been in the good trades, iron. Let's look at Cypher. How's Cypher doing this morning, guys? Is Cypher crushing it? Not exactly fucking crushing it. It was at 25 in October 2027. It's dropped, 50% and almost 50% in a period of 3 weeks. That sucks. I bet a lot of people wish they would have cashed out. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because we're down here. Look at that. Fucking how painful is that? How fucking painful is that? And iron looks better than that, but it's been getting brutalized too. There's a bunch of things. CleanSpark was at $23. It's at $11 now. It's dropped over 50 fucking percent in 3 weeks. SBET saved me in July. Me too. I think we were all on that boat, right? And ASST actually saved me a little bit too, right? We called the top on that at $12. Then it dropped like a fucking rock, and I got into it sub 1. Now, unfortunately, it's only 105. So I guess I saved myself on the first round, and now I'm just kind of hanging out in the second. Now, I want to talk about this real quick. I want to talk about my strategy. The thing I believe the most in at these levels is Tesla. Why? It's consolidated 4 fucking years. Over 4 years, it's consolidated and went sideways. And there's so many beautiful things in front of us. It still has a high PE ratio. They have tons of cash, okay? I love James, but I listened to him way too much and got out of the miners at the worst time right before they 5x'd or more. Yeah, that sucks. And, he's not right. He's done well, but, we're all human beings, man. We can all make mistakes. But in the end, it needs to be about risk management. One of my highest conviction bets right now isn't Bitcoin after going from 15,000 to 125. It's not. It's definitely not gold, which got up to 4,200 here recently and went up 171% in 2 years. It's probably not going to be iron, something that's went up over 1,000% since April. It's not going to be MicroStrategy, which again, or like, well, let's say this. If I was more confident about something surviving, it would probably be MicroStrategy right now. Because I think that their vehicles, their STRC, and the way their debt is structured, I think they're just way stronger than people realize. Somebody said a $20,000 price drop they'd have to cause them to have to start selling. But that's not even necessarily true. It's not. Their debt doesn't come due for so fucking long. Let's see here if we can just let me look at something real quick. Is this strategy? Yeah, this is strategy. Purchases. Nope, that's not what we want. Debt. That's what we want. Okay, so issue date, maturity date. So the important thing to understand here is the maturity date, right? So if you look here, the things that they have to pay down, or pay back, these coupons, they don't come due for a long time. And there could be some of these might be structured in a way where there could be some forced selling. But really, they don't have to worry about this debt for a very, very long time. Okay? Look at some of these things. 2030 fucking 2. 2031, 2030, 2030. So strategy's actually been really brilliant, and the price could drop so fucking far. It's not like they're running margin or leverage accounts. Like, it's not like they've got long call options on this bitch. They're pretty safe because they've structured their debt in a way. I mean, look at and the stuff that's coming due more recent. Look at the interest on it. The coupon is 0.625. What is that shit? That's not due until the end of 2028, man. It's 3 years from now. A little less. And that's the earliest one. And then these guys are sitting on how much Bitcoin right now? I don't even know. I mean, it's dropping by the minute. Somebody give me a number if you have one. But essentially, they're incredibly over-collateralized. So if I was going to own something, not options, I mean, this might be a decent thing to buy. Not that it can't get crushed, but it's under a 1x MNAV. And somebody said this, and it's a really good point about the treasuries, and this should be looked at, right? They do have monthly payments on STRC and STRK and a few other things. You're right. But what they're doing is not diluting the shareholder, and they're paying out that monthly payment, and they can pause it if they need to pause it. So you got to remember, they can actually stop it. If they don't want to pay it because they can pause it. So they're just incredibly well positioned and don't really have a lot of debt. And they're still up on their position in Bitcoin. And they won't get liquidated. They just won't. The people that say that are fucking stupid. They have no reason. What did you say? Not STRC? What were you talking about? There's a lot of chat. There's a lot more than normal, so I might be missing some of it. Let me know if I'm missing something there, guys, that I need to be seeing. So, but this isn't the worst idea. If it's down 7% today, if it just gets crushed, I mean, I would rather buy. Let's just go back over here real quick. Like iron. What's iron? Iron is still up 747% from where it was in April. And don't get me wrong, they probably have a business model here. They have profit here. But could it drop a lot over a short term? Yes, it could. If things get weird, it could. And maybe if you got a bunch of cash, then don't be listening to me. I'm talking to the people that aren't heavy in cash right now. Okay? If you're not heavy in cash right now, you're not looking to buy. If you're heavy in cash and iron, like where iron's right now, and you have no position and you've wanted to get in, it's a hell of a lot better than $77. At least this is an HPC play. It's not so much a Bitcoin play. So if you believe that AI is still happening, this could be a great bet for you. And again, if it drops down here, the measured move, really, guys, for this top right up here, the measured move for it, if we're just being like, I don't know, about right, is going to be a right down to this 100 moving average on the daily. So if you got like sub 40 in this bitch, like 37 or something, this might be interesting, okay? MicroStrategy absolutely destroyed. It has been. It's been worse than this, right? Fucking iron is doing better than MicroStrategy right now. Iron is only off 36%. I can't even believe I'm saying that. That happened so quickly. Iron's off 36% from the highs. Strategy, again, it's down almost 6 in pre-market. It's getting ready to hit this other fib. You're getting ready to see higher volumes here, this is probably a really safe bet. And Metaplanet, I think, is a safe bet. How much is Metaplanet down today? Let's just look. Metaplanet. Well, this is yesterday. It was down 9.77. This thing is down, and I think they're great. I think they got a lock on the Japanese market. They're down 85%. SWC, I think, is down like 90%. I don't know if I love that one as much, though. But like Metaplanet or ASST, I actually like ASST. I think their SATA vehicle is maybe even a better version than what MicroStrategy has. And again, it's just a way for them to be able to they can pause their monthly payments too, guys. It ticks up the interest rate by 0.25% each month they do that. But they can pause their monthly distribution too. But it allows them to be able to accumulate Bitcoin like SATA right now. Let's just look at it. This vehicle, people are buying it. People are scared. And what are they buying? They're buying TLT. Well, I guess they were buying SATA yesterday. Today it's down a little bit. But people are spending money on this. The volume is strong, and they'll be able to buy more Bitcoin with it. And they have no debt. They have absolutely no debt. So I kind of like that setup. Are you planning to buy more ASST if we go below 1? I've got to see how things are sitting. But honestly, probably, or at the very least, what I would do is buy SATA because it gives you a 12% monthly or annual distribution on a monthly basis. And so if I want to take a couple $100,000 just to be safe, I can do that. And a couple $100,000 would be like $25,000 a year in income. So yeah, I still love the team. I love the team at Strive. I think they're brilliant. I think they're the right kind of people. And I think they move very quickly and have done a good job. I don't know if their similar deal is going to finish, but that leads me to my next point. I'm worried about, or I shouldn't say that. You should equate and value treasuries based on the level of risk they have underneath of them. They're not a straight Bitcoin play. There is risk. There is risk, additional risk, right? So you're counting on the business to be able to do what they need to do. You're counting on, if they're creating perpetuals, you're counting on them to be able to manage those in a way where they're sustainable. This has to be the bottom, says Not Your Mom. You could be right. I think it could very well be the bottom. I think seasonality tells us it should be the bottom. It shouldn't be the worst November since the great financial crisis. I agree with that. But I think, though, you have to, again, if you're on leverage, if you're leveraged right now, you could get totally fucking wrecked. And that's the thing I really want to warn people about, is the leverage part. You could get totally wrecked here. Because if this isn't the bottom, and remember, let's just look here again. Let's look at gold. Let's look at Bitcoin. Let's look at all these things. Let's jump over here. Iron, still up 747% from where it was in April. MSTR, what is it up? Let's see. Year to date, it's actually probably down now. Yeah, year to date, it's gotten crushed. Year to date, it's down a lot. But if we go back further and look in December of 2022 at the beginning of the bear market, it was $13. It's 198 right now in pre-market. So you're still looking at like a 15x or something, 14x, that this thing is up since the bear market ended. Now, I would argue that's actually probably value territory. Again, if you have money, why wouldn't you be buying a little bit of this right now? You've overshot this falling wedge, and now it's either a channel where you're at the bottom of that channel and it could try and test back up again, or again, maybe you just keep going like this for a while. But I think the downside risk on like an MSTR is getting lower. Maybe some stupid people talk about selling before we get good clarification and comments from Michael Saylor indicating that he's very solvent, right? But you just never know. You never know. This also, guys, I do want to warn something here. If we look at this, this is a double top, right? This is a double top. If we just draw this out, even if we draw it like on the conservative range and then are conservative with this, right? We could still go to the 200 moving average at 140. So, I mean, you just got to realize that could totally happen. And that's a conservative view. It could be steeper than that. And it wouldn't be nuts. I mean, look at where we were over here in early 2024 all the way until October of 2024, a year ago. We'd be going back to the same levels that it was at and consolidated in a year ago. So if Bitcoin is going to struggle, that wouldn't be a crazy thing to have happen, at least over a short term. So it seems reasonable that this is a safe bet, is have a fair value around 175 to 180 is a good price to get back in. If you're talking about MicroStrategy, I mean, it's down 63%. So it seems like a good place to dial into now. If we get volume over here at 165, we could get down to the 200 moving average around 140, 150, right? So, and if that happens, like let's say we get the worst case scenario, we're down 73% from its high. That's like a Meta in 2022. That's like a Tesla in 2022. So these are good levels. But again, we've already dropped a lot. So it's not like you should sell everything and run away from the market right now, at least in regard to MSTR, because I think that the actual risk that company has is very low. ASST, Strive, doesn't have any debt. And they've got a perpetual monthly product that gives you a 12% return that they can pause. So they really, I see, have no risk. And they're going to be accumulating more and more Bitcoin. And they haven't even added similar Bitcoin yet. Now, don't get me wrong, ASST, it's been, let's look at the chart real quick here. Let's go to that one super fast. Let me see here. There's ARKG. So again, ARKG down 78% from where it was 5 years ago. I'm pretty confident in the ability for that one to go up in the next, 2 years, which is as far out as my calls go. My calls go out 26 months, I believe, right now on ARKG. And then TLT is a shorter term play. I only go out a year on this one, but it's up 0.63% in pre-market. People are looking at this. If you have just cash sitting around and you want to hedge yourself and potentially still do well, because I think Paul Tudor Jones agrees with me. He's one of the best traders ever, guys. He's my fucking hero. There are very few actual traders that are billionaires, right? That are just rich as fuck. He is a man who's done amazing things. And speaking of another great trader, the man who broke the Bank of England, Scott Bessent, I think he's going to do the right things no matter what. He says he wants rates lower. The majority, our interest expense on our federal budget is the biggest line item by far. It is 1.2 trillion plus. Our defense budget is 850 billion. It's insane that we're paying that much. We have to lower rates. So I love TLT as a save my ass play, where I can make 10x plus 10 to 15x pretty easy. If this thing happens in any decent amount of time, I can get 15x. If I get 15x on this, that's basically me making $1 million off of 300,000+. Okay, so I like that as a good hedge if you're scared right now. I really like it. I think it's going to be one of the better things I talk about. Because I haven't been the greatest in this last year, but it's going to be something that I think will make up for a lot of that. Again, it's not gold. Gold is 11, or not even 11% off its highs. What is gold right now? If you're buying gold right here, good luck. Again, when markets really plummet, these things bleed. It's down 6% right now. I think during the great financial crisis, it dropped like 35 or something. You guys let me know. I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe it was more. Rebecca, I have a question for you, Jesse. I'm up almost 300% on Cypher. Should I get out now? That's so hard to tell you. I don't know Cypher as well. I do own some. I might even sell it because I'm trying to make sure that I want to make sure that I have at least $400,000 in cash. So I'm paying my taxes and I'm giving myself a buffer to live for a year. So I might sell some because I have it in a long-term account. Okay. So that might be my decision today, right? I actually love Metaplanet. I think it's really great right here. Why do you think it's trashed, Nathan? Because it went down a lot? In Metaplanet, it actually looks like it's bottoming. But yeah. So I don't know. The Cypher thing is really a question for you. If you think that the Bitcoin cycle might be over and you're in the 4-year camp, then I don't know. I don't know that you want to stay in it any longer. Seems like it should bounce. I mean, it's down so fucking much. And then I need to get back to ASST and all these others. I mean, it's down to $13, from 25. Again, it's down 50% in 3 weeks. I think we need Tom Lee Hopium. I don't know that you're going to love that. Let's go there real quick, though. Let's segue. Here's Tom Lee Hopium, and then we'll get back to some of these
Good
others.
evening, FS Insight family and community. Today is Thursday, November 13th, and this is our Macro Minute. As you know, our rough roadmap for November was that we'd have chop in the first couple of weeks before markets gave way
I'll talk about that, Nathan, in a little bit. Don't let me forget on Better Planet.
and rallied into the end of the month.
Does Tom Lee look excited right now? He looks tired. He looks a little fucking scared. He's a human being. Everybody should be really nice to him, man. He's a human being. Just like Mike Alfred, all these people are fucking human beings. I'm a human being. Shocking, I know. We can all make mistakes. We can all be wrong for a period of time. And
And
he could still end up being right. Probably
so
will be.
far, it has been quite choppy. This is the first 2 weeks of November. As you can see, it does look like a lot of chop, and the markets were down almost 2% today.
Thanks, Nathan.
Now, you might be wondering why are markets under so
They
much
will,
pressure, especially given that the government shutdown is behind
I actually think it's funny that Michael Burry retired his fund right at the time where everything's falling apart.
us and the New York City mayoral race is behind us. But there were a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of days. The
Yeah,
first is
Rich, I get
that
that.
the Fed has become increasingly hawkish. We've heard this from various Fed members, and talking about a December cut's no longer a sure bet. In fact, the latest being Boston Fed's Collins, who actually talked about advocating for steady rates. Part of this is because the Fed is flying blind.
One thing I want to talk about with the Fed guys in February, I forget which one it is. Maybe it was Collins. They're retiring, and it's a liberal that's going to be leaving, and they're going to get a conservative appointed. Okay, that could already be close to the shift that we need to start really pulling rates down. I also still believe rates are coming down. I don't think that's changed. Again, I've kind of said some of my reasons. We have to bring it down. Scott Besson has to do it. We got to do it for the government. We got to do it for the commercial real estate sector. We got to do it for the banks that own bonds that are underwater. We got to do it for so many different reasons. And when there's an incentive, we're going to do it. But we have a Fed that's going to be retiring in February. We have another one that might be kicked out around that same time, or at worst case, May, that might lose her position because she was committing mortgage fraud. And that's probably going to happen, in my opinion. We have the Fed chair stepping down next year, too. I think that's like June. And then normally it's traditional for him to step down and leave. And I think that's what'll happen. So there's a really good chance. Will we get a Sam Bankman event in the cycle? We might have already had one. And I'll get back to Tom Lee here. You can see, though, he doesn't seem super excited right now, but he's going to try and tell you why he still thinks we're headed down the right path. It just doesn't seem like he's super confident, and I get it. But we could have a Sam Bankman-Fried. We might have already had one. We don't know, right? What we know is we had the biggest deleveraging event in crypto history 3 weeks ago, and we don't know any more than that. We know that there's at least one company that probably blew up from it. But the last time that happened, we lost FTX, we lost Celsius, we temporarily kind of lost Binance, or there was a massive fear that they were going to go under. Voyager, there's so many I can't keep track of. Luna, an entire coin that just went to dust. So there's so many things. Like we could be looking at an event like that. Maybe we're still dealing with the contagion of that, and some of it's bleeding into traditional markets. I do think that Bitcoin generally leads traditional markets, so I do fear for traditional markets. We'll look at a chart that kind of goes over some of that. Let's finish up with Tom Lee.
But you can see now the odds of a December cut have dropped to 50%, both in the Fed futures market and even in poly market. Those odds have dropped to 53%.
I'm kind of there too, Poly.
Where do I stand?
Or
I
Poly.
think the Fed is still going to cut in December.
I agree, and it's dropped even more, guys. Right now, we're looking at a Fed rate cut potential of it went back up. It was 49.4 this morning. It's back to 53.4, so that's good. So that's updated, and it looks like I don't know, more likely than not.
So this would be a dovish outcome.
Saylor's on CNBC, nice.
And then the second factor has been recent, which is the Supreme Court is now hearing the tariff case. but it does look like it finds a second way to implement these same exact tariffs. So this has dragged sentiment down. The AAII net bulls is now negative 17.5. That means there's way more bears than bulls.
This is an
In
insane
fact,
number.
as you can see, this
All right, so this doesn't go back too far. Um, Let me see here. Yeah, this doesn't go back too far. So this is only going to like, I think, July. But you can see that we're at one of the lowest levels for the bear bull sentiment indicator. So this is, in many ways, we should be seeing a bottom.
reading is the worst since early September. But again, I think that that's a contrarian signal because
Thanks, Maytag.
investors are really quick to lose conviction here and to turn so bearish so
Atlanta.
quickly.
Thank you, Raphael.
Mark Newton even notes that technically, that he thinks the drawdown is maybe nearing support in the next couple of days, but we'll see. But again, investors have been really quick to turn bearish.
So listen to what he just said there. And again, he's a bull. He's a perma bull, right? But he said that the drawdown looks like it might relent in a couple of days. But we'll see. So what he's going to tell you here is that he believes probably by Wednesday. We got FOMC meeting minutes. We got some other stuff, the tick flows here. That's going to be delayed, but we've got NVIDIA earnings, probably the biggest thing, and that will be a huge catalyst. And I agree, if we're going to bounce, I would think we do it by then.
And then as we look at the week ahead, the key next week is going to be NVIDIA, which reports results on Wednesday.
What Saylor tweet?
Now, as far as AI goes, and people question this, one of the banks I would pay a lot of attention to is JP Morgan. They're deploying AI.
Yeah, that's true, Stoney.
On the asset management side, their head said,
all right, I want to listen to the rest of this AI play because he's going to say some of the same things I've been saying, but I wanted to say this. Stoney said, usually working 5 days after the government reopens is when we bounce. And when we say usually, we're actually just referring to the last time that Trump had a government shutdown, which was the longest government shutdown in history until this one. So again, history tells us seasonality is really great for Bitcoin and the stock market this part of the year. And we didn't have a good October already, which is normally good. So we're already kind of coiling the spring theoretically on seasonality here. We know that there's a bunch of fund managers, 80% that have underperformed markets or the benchmark, and they want at the end of the year to outperform. So there's a really good chance we get some buying there too, okay? And then what was the other thing? And then NVIDIA earnings that are going to happen on Wednesday. And then this 5-day thing. So there's a lot of things that make us want to go higher. There are.
Erdos, AI isn't a bubble, but rather an opportunity. So keep that in mind. So markets are facing a lot of turbulence in the near term. Okay. But this is what we expected, that we'd have turbulence and then we'd rally into the end of the month.
And he's been saying
just
that.
Keep in mind, buy this dip. We want to stick with the Mag 7 crypto, as well as industrials, financials, and small caps on a dovish Fed. So
again, I just want to look at that chart. So I'd say he's low energy today. But again, AI, crypto, he's saying with a dovish Fed, industrials, financials, large cap regional banks, so like things like SoFi, especially as markets eye 2026. So he's saying that he's basically saying that he believes the exact same thing. He believes we're going up and that we're still going to be looking at a good market. And that's the way I'm leaning too. It really is. Again, we're oversold. Everything tells us that we should be bouncing, not dropping. In 2 weeks, quantitative easing is going to happen. Let's just look at I want to go to some other points too here. So somebody earlier today, Larry B said, I'm curious what parts. Let's just look at our exchange here. So I had this post that said, again, we're tracking for the worst November since 2008. And it's not looking super great this morning. Maybe a little bouncy, but not super great. Looks like a washout day. Larry said this will be the worst since 2008. The economy is collapsing in epic fashion. I said I disagree. I said, but like Michael Howell has been saying recently, the actual economy can be in recovery and have funds directed to it, not the stock market. So that's one potential, right? Then he says, I'm curious what parts of the economy you see recovering. He sees housing that's unaffordable for most Americans, layoffs increasing, a slow to react Fed, retail sales down, inflation ticking back up, equities massively overvalued, and now in free fall as they correct. So I want to speak to a little bit of that here. So let me just see where Truflation's at here, if it displays the most recent. So we're looking at November 14th. We're looking at actually it's ticked down from its recent high of about 2.7% down to about 2.55. There's a lot of other things that Trump is working on. He just passed a deal with Argentina to lower beef prices, and then just a bunch of other things, commodities from them that can help us lower costs. So we've got stuff like that, right? Where inflation maybe isn't bad, and I don't see it being bad. You can't make the argument that the economy's falling apart because the job market's collapsing, and then see slowdowns all over China, all over the place. Everything they're doing is a slowdown, even though their market is at an all-time high too, right? So you can't even invest in China, right? Because their market is back where it was during the 2008 great financial crisis, which happens to be a 52-week high. But you can't say that the entire world is slowing down and that people are going to, and that sales are slowing down and retail sales are collapsing, and then still make the same argument that we're not going to see disinflation. We're going to see disinflation in that kind of environment. We've got all this technological innovation and other things happening. And if you see reduced demand, and in the United States, are you going to have reduced demand? We're getting rid of millions of illegal immigrants every year, right? Like we at least locked the border, which prevented another 1 to 2 million from crossing this year. And then at the same time, if you believe the reports, we are at least 1 million people that have deported to 2 million that have self-deported and or been physically removed. That reduces demand. So that's pulling down on costs. We can already see shelter coming down all over the place. And definitely in new home building, they're slowing down in new home building. We're deregulating. We're doing all these things to try and pull down prices. I believe strongly that that is happening. So I wanted to cover that point first. But let's talk about a few things here. I said housing's been in a recession for over 3 years. I'm like, this isn't new. If anything, a 50-year plus history tells us we're more likely to bounce out of this, especially if they implement transferable mortgages. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this. There's a bunch of shit about 50 years. They might suck. There was other stuff about that 50-year mortgage. That, I mean, it's not the best idea, but it doesn't really do much either, and it doesn't look very attractive. So maybe that's not the best play. But there's stuff like transferable mortgages. What does that mean? That's not something where it's like it's the buyer that benefits. What they're talking about, or I should say portable is probably a better term to use. What they're talking about, yeah, thanks, Kyle. Perfect timing, by the way. What they're talking about is that if you have an interest rate of like 2.75, I've got a friend, my friend Jessica. She's got a house. She bought from her mom. She got like, I think 2.75% interest on the loan. Is she going to move anytime soon? Fuck no. Even if she made a ton of money, she's probably still not going to sell that fucking house, and she'll sit in it because of the fact that it's a 2.75% loan. And why would she want to go to a 6 or 7? Why would you do that? That's just insanity, especially going up. So you're maybe getting a little bit nicer of a house by spending a shit ton more money. Why would you do that? Nobody's going to do that. Well, if you've got a portable mortgage where you can say, hey guys, I want to move. I found a house I love. Let's figure out that portable mortgage. And then they go, oh, hey, yeah, your income's increased. That looks good. You still qualify for it. We'll go ahead and transfer that over and establish it on your new house at close. That's what the government's talking about doing. That opens up the housing market. So the housing recession is not a real fucking thing. That normally makes up 80 to 85% of home sales. So I see the real estate market. If you wanted to be a realtor, this might be the time where you get to prosper from it, okay? ISM manufacturing, it's been in contraction territory for over 3 years. It's the longest route like in history, at least since I've been alive and beyond. And what's it more likely to do when we've forced all these countries through tariffs to reinvest in the United States? What's it more likely to do? Is it to bounce and start getting better? We made our first magnet in the United States in 25 fucking years this last week. And Scott Bessent was visiting 2 manufacturers over the last week that produced 1,600 jobs. So I'm going to say that manufacturing is going to get better when we're forcing all of our Magnificent Seven and all of our other companies that are really large and other companies around the world to where if you want to do business and avoid the tariffs in the United States, and if you want to avoid the risk that comes from China as an adversary and the potential of war, you got to fix this shit now. You got to fix this shit now and invest in the United States. Does manufacturing get better from here with that? Does a pro-growth policy of low tax environment, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime and Social Security, do things get better when the new year comes around and people are able to adjust their withholdings so that they can capitalize off of their lower tax obligation at the end of the year and keep more real money in their pockets? I think they do better from that. I think the government should encourage them to do that and to look through their taxes, and I think they're going to. What if we give them a $2,000 tariff return? I think that's great. I think that's great because the people at the lowest end of the spectrum get some financial relief, and we keep them from collapsing and or get them to spend some money in the economy. So I'm not worried about ISM. I like the $2,000 check thing. I think affordability comes from higher wages. We just talked about one way that could happen, right? And again, we're reducing the staple cost of goods. So I just want to show this over here real quick. Let's look at some stuff. Now you can see speculation doing really well. Look at year to date on metals. People have bet on silver, platinum, gold, copper. These have done really well, right? But let's look at other stuff year to date. Potatoes down 74%, orange juice down 67%, cocoa down 55%, butter down 30%, rice down 26%, sugar down 23%, rubber down 12%, cheese down 8%, milk down 8%, cotton down almost 8%, palm oil down 7%, oats down 5.82%. I can just keep going down because the only things that actually went up were like lumber 4.54%. That's kind of flat, right? And the year over year is 1.77%. Or some of these other things like canola, soybeans, tea, some coffee is up 22%, wool, like some discretionary stuff and things that you can survive with, right? That you can survive with. So we are actually seeing reductions in some of this stuff, and I think that's important to note. Now let's look at, this is a little bit different in industrial, right? Synthetic rubber, soda ash, germanium. Some rare earth stuff, they're down, and there's a decent chunk of things that are down here, but they're starting to tick up in sulfur, cobalt, rhodium, palladium. So rare earth elements and things like that, they're going up, but I think they're getting a bid just like gold and all the minerals, right? I think a lot of that's happened in the short term. I mean, look at sulfur. It's up 110% for the year. 31 of that is just in the last month. Cobalt, almost 14 out of 99. So these things, especially recently, have dragged up a bunch. Now, let's look over here. Livestock. Now, this hasn't been bad. Eggs are down almost, 65%. Salmon's down 16.7%. Lean hogs are down 4% year to date. Poultry's down 3%. Beef is up 1.59%. Live cattle are up 14 and 28%. But again, we're going to drive a lot of that down. We've had a shortage of cattle. There's a number of reasons for it. I'm not going to go into it. But essentially, all these staple foods are down and or going to be down more. And we just signed a deal with beef to lower those prices. So we're going to see beef prices coming down in the United States too. So that's not sitting too bad. Look at the electricity index. This is like Italy, Germany, United Kingdom, France, Spain. Look at their reduction. Good news, it's back up. Time is the answer. What's back up? Sorry, what are we talking about? Lost a lot, down 25%. What was that for? Revenue, ABTC doubles. This is amazing. Poly. I have a 2.92% mortgage. That was a great gift during COVID. I refinanced. See, that's brilliant. And now if you ever need to move, if we have a portable mortgage, you can do that. You can do that, which is great. Bitcoin now at 94,968. Yep, whole portfolio. Okay. All right. So yeah, anyway, I don't think there's much else to look at here. But what I wanted you to understand is there's a lot of things that are actually down in cost. Some companies are reluctant to reduce their margins. I think the administration is going to put pressure on them to do that. But I want to read through a few more here. I said I think the Fed is going to lower rates next year, and if you're so doom on the economy here, then you have to realize that the rest of the world will be even worse. That pushes us towards disinflation to deflation. Worst case scenario, that's an area where the Fed has to lower rates, like Paul Tudor Jones predicted. Again, I think my TLT calls do well. Layoffs increasing will push the Fed to lower rates. Agreed. If that keeps happening, that's just going to give them more ammo, right? And we're starting to see in Trueflation, again, a little bit of a rollover from a recent top here. This isn't crazy high, guys. If we're going back over a year, I mean, in December, we were at 3%. If we're just looking at this, if we're looking at this year over year, guys, going back to November, we were at 2.62%. We're at 2.52 now. So if anything, year over year, we look like we're deflating still. And again, I think shelter is going to come down because we're getting rid of all the illegal immigrants. That makes an impact. We're imprisoning people, deporting people, whatever we need to be doing, right? And we're making our cities cleaner and safer. You know what happens to cities and local economies when people are safe and they can go fucking shopping and go out for drinks and eat in their neighborhoods? They benefit greatly. Why do you think Trump is doing that? And it's not just blue states he's doing it in. He's doing it in conservative ones too, because he wants to genuinely make them safe and make them thrive. Deregulation. We haven't really, nobody focuses on this, but with whether it's the energy sector or the military industrial complex or the medical sector, we're working to deregulate and speed up approvals for everything. That allows for more startups. We have a Texas exchange that's going to be coming online that might be token based and like blockchain to where everything's like it could really be innovative. That's happening the early part of next year. They will also be reducing spin up costs for companies that want to go live on the exchange. So it's going to be competition for the first time in ages, really strong competition, ground up building that's happened with Texas and this new exchange that's going to be spinning up. So again, between deregulation, simplifying, competition, there's so many good things happening. And I wanted to say, starting next year, people can change. Oh, yeah, I already said that one. And I said AI is nowhere near a bubble. The biggest companies that are spending on this bubble, they have infinite amounts of cash. They're not borrowing. Mike says, April prepared me for this, dialing into leverage for the bounce. If you need to. Again, I'm not dialing into shit right now. There's no leverage that I'm dialing into right now. We'll see how the day goes. But I'm definitely not dialing into leverage. Amazing how we went from gonna make so much money. Yeah, it happens fast, doesn't it? Yeah. Again, with leverage, it'll do that. And it's why I've been dialing out of it. It could be worse if you had leverage, man. If you were in, let's just put it this way. Remember MSTY? Remember how everybody said that was like a dividend fund and it was super safe? Let's look at that. How is MSTY doing, guys? You want to complain about MS or MSTX or any MSTU, all these 2X funds. Remember how everybody said MSTY was the future and it was your safest bet for playing the MicroStrategy play? Well, how's that done? Let's just look. The top over here was at $46. The current price, 83% drop. So this was not safer than MicroStrategy. You actually did worse. Jesse, TSLA or BMNR, if you had to pack, I would just, I'm not looking out months right now. I'm looking out over like 6 months to a year, honestly. So I would pick Tesla for safety. But it depends on how much money you have and what you're allocated to already. 3% away from the CME gap. Again, there's one at 92,000. I do think that this is the bounce zone, guys. But you do you. You figure out where your risk profile is. Jubilee, usually how much time will it take things to recover after a big dump or nobody knows? It depends on what's happening. And we can't really use historical trends, not for Bitcoin at least. If you look at the April tariff stuff, I like Metaplanet. Pick Metaplanet for hard issues. No, it's better now. But yeah, we could talk about that in a second. But I would stay away from leverage like this shit. You know, all these stupid, like this kind of stuff is fucking dangerous, okay? This isn't another company that's got stuff created that's like MicroStrategy. This is piggybacking off of it. Same with those MSTU and MSTX, 2X funds. They've been utterly destroyed. Like, let's look at them too. Let's look at MSTX. That's a big one that everybody used. How bad is that one? Are we glad that we got out of MSTX? If you think you've done bad now, let's look at MSTX. Oh my God. This is going to be painful. This is going to be painful. 97%. If you had $1 million, you'd have 30 grand. MSTX. So be happy you're not in the dividend safe play that's down more than MicroStrategy. Be happy you're not in a 2x fund that has lost almost all of its value and destroyed your wealth. And that's why I would not be in a sold right now. I don't care. Maybe the crypto market still happens and it's not over yet. But wouldn't you rather be safe sitting in a Tesla, something that if the market completely melts down, maybe it's down 50% to 75% in total? So maybe like 30 to 50 more than where we are now would be like the worst case scenario that you could envision. BITX, it's a 2x, right? I mean, I'm not telling anybody to do anything, Gino. I'm just telling you that I exited 2x funds like I want to say a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. Yeah, Metaplanet sucked. 425,000 down to 80. I at least got out of that at some point. And so I didn't ride that thing fully down. But you're right. That's fucking painful. That's really painful. Sadly, I think it's a really great value where it's at right now. But it'll take a long time to make that money back. That's just the reality of it. So I can't sugarcoat that. You're 100% right about that. I mean, that sucks. But I feel better about like long bets on something that can give me asymmetric upside. ARCG down 77%. If it in the next 2 years with some of my options, in 26 months actually, if it got anywhere from 84 to 133, I can 10x that money. I can 10x that money. That is a realistic, if you do the math, you run the options calculator, that is a great thing to me when you've been down for almost 1,800 days from where your high was reached back in 2021. And this was January of 2021, right? Yeah, January. So this was way before we had the craziness that happened with Papa Powell increasing rates at one of the fastest rates in history. So that's nuts, right? Oh, and it's not even, yeah, look at this. And how much did we go up in like a year plus around that time? Almost 400%. So I think we're down here right now. I think that this is something where if we get some craziness, I'll probably end up looking at it. What are we talking about? Saylor on in 1 minute? Oh, okay. We should probably do that. Let me get over. That ain't going to be it. Let me find Saylor here. YouTube TV. We got you somewhere. Ah, I think I see it. Is that YouTube TV? Nope. It's not. Let's see. Is this YouTube TV? This is YouTube TV. Let's get that over. And again, let's just Palantir is a great company, but dude, it's so richly valued. It's just another one where I would be scared to add a lot. But saying that, they are legit growing gangbusters. And so if anything deserves a premium, it's going to be a company like this. And it's down already to 165. My fear is that if we really get a deep route, this thing's not going to be valued at a 200 or 400 PE. It might go lower, just like how we might see a reduction in Tesla. We could see something worse with Palantir, I think, or at least on par. ASST is right here, so it's down. They did major dilution, so that's not surprising. They're down 92% from where they were at. And I think we're going to establish a higher low here. I like their SATA vehicle. I'm even interested in getting into it. Again, higher low right here. We're testing down, but this was such a steep drop. I mean, we dropped into the 26 range. I don't see Saylor up yet, but I'll hop over there in a second. We've got gaps going all the way up to the $8.33 range. If that were to happen from where we're at, anytime, like in the next year, that would be a 723% or 26% increase. So it'd be a big number. Robinhood looks good too. Anthony, everyone is always locking in for GDPX to buy. Now is the time to back up the truck. Spot positions set up for 2026. If spot positions, I agree with that. Spot positions could be okay because, again, you can lose some money and still survive to fight another day. It's all about just figuring out your own personal risk, man. Macro Polo, remember when your stocks went up so much we lost our breath? I think that was like a half a year ago. Actually, a month ago. But yeah, there's probably that time too. It's happened a couple of times. And what I should have been doing is not shooting for an arbitrary target at the end of the year. I should have been using those opportunities to say, I don't care about getting max returns. And I should have sold some of those, right? I should have sold larger chunks every time that happened. I didn't sell. And I was doing that because I was operating off of a rule of there's no fucking way Bitcoin tops when zero indicators, and not just these 30, I've got a bunch too. I was like, there's no fucking way it tops here. It just can't. And I was wrong. One sec. I'm going to look at CNBC.
5%?
We got James
No, I
Greer.
I would have to stay with the 10%.
I'll do it for 9% just to make it interesting for Barbara.
Okay.
And then you get Chef Wonderful. Just squeezing her Icama a little bit.
Right here.
And pro rata deal for
One sec.
In the
I
trade
wanna hear
deficit,
it.
are there micro areas, like bananas or coffee or cocoa or things like that?
I want to hear this.
We have deals with a number.
to these
Greer is great.
At BDO, I feel like a true individual. People value me for me. They care about what I want, my needs.
Greer is great, so I want to see him. He's amazing, so I want to see what he has to say. Here we go.
frameworks for agreements on reciprocal trade with El Salvador, Argentina, Ecuador, and Guatemala. Joining us right now on the latest on trade negotiations is United States Trade Representative Ambassador Jameson Greer. And Ambassador, thank you for being here today. The way it's being boiled down, at least in the headlines, and tell us if this is the right way of seeing this, is that there are going to be exemptions to these tariff barriers that are there for goods that we can't produce in America, things like bananas, things like coffee, or maybe even things that we want to see lower prices on, like beef. Is that the fair way to frame it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, since the outset on April 2nd, when the president announced his reciprocal tariff program, on April 2nd itself, there were some items that weren't subject to tariffs. And then in early September, the president put out a notice to the world saying, as I start to conclude these deals, we're going to let out tariffs on some of these things that we don't make in the United States. And so this is just following through on that promise. He's made the deals now. In addition to these 4 Latin American allies, we have deals with a number of Asian allies, also the UK and the EU. We have a critical mass, and so the president's determined, now that we have this in place, we have these deals in hand, it's time to take off some of these tariffs on products we don't make here.
The Democrats did very well in the elections a couple of weeks ago in New York City, New Jersey, Virginia, and there are some people who say that this is the administration's focus on more affordability, because that affordability catchphrase is something that the Democrats have been trying to play up and make political hay with. Is that true?
Well, I mean, the reality is, at a macro level, the president's trade program has been incredibly successful. We've opened up markets for our exporters. We're reining in the trade deficit. Are there micro areas, like bananas or coffee or cocoa or things like that, where we don't need a tariff? I think that's right. The president appropriately used them as leverage to get these deals. I mean, Ecuador, that's a country. What do they export to us? A lot of bananas, coffee, things like that. Some of these other countries. So it makes sense when you're making a deal and giving tariff relief. It's mutually beneficial for them and for us. So the timing is right.
I guess my question would be more pointedly, though. The president himself has said that while these are goals that we want to increase production in the United States in areas where we can, we may have to live with higher costs for a short time. I think his comment at one point was maybe for Christmas you get one toy, one Barbie doll instead of 2 or 3. Is that still the mindset of the administration that, look, these could be painful in the short term, but these are goals that long term really matter, and we're focused on that?
Yeah.
Well, when you're adjusting supply chains, companies.
Well, again, they're trying to lower the price of coffee, and they're trying to lower the price of beef. That's why they're working with Argentina, and they're trying to all the stuff that we just talked about. Where they might want to pull the price down, that's what they're doing, right? Like, we're trying to make it to where we can pull the price down of all these expenses. And if we look over here, coffee was one of the high items here, like a coffee, tea, soybeans, sunflower, canola, all these kind of things, lumber. You want to get all these down, including wool. They're probably working with a number of countries to be able to do that so that it looks year to date low, just like everything else. And that makes sense. That's what we want to do.
Is always, have some reallocation
We want to have really good trade with Central and South America and Canada eventually.
of costs, and they don't like that. When we look at prices overall this year, prices generally are in check. And like I said, I think there are kind of these micro areas, edge cases, and some of them are things at the grocery store, right? But a lot of these things are healthcare, or housing, or education, things that have nothing to do with the import or export of goods. So I mean, I don't think we want to have super cheap stuff from Asia that undermines our own manufacturing. But at the same time, we haven't seen a huge increase in some of those kinds of goods. So I think you have to go product by product, really, in these kinds of cases.
I agree.
I know you are headed to London later this month to work on trade and tariff issues with the UK. Is that the next in line? Is it Switzerland? Where do things kind of stand in terms of the who's on?
The SEC chair, Paul Atkins, is talking about token taxonomy plan for crypto rules. We might have to check that out, too. On Fox Business,
deck,
along with Saylor.
Sure. So Switzerland is probably the next one. I just met with them yesterday afternoon. I've spoken with the president just this morning and yesterday. I've coordinated with cabinet colleagues, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Besson, the chief of staff. And this is something where we've essentially reached a deal with Switzerland. So we'll post details of that today on the White House website.
That's good.
Where they're
That's
going
good.
to send a lot of their manufacturing here to the United States. Pharmaceuticals, gold smelting, railway equipment. So we're really excited about that deal and what it means for American manufacturing.
How long was that deal in the works, and what kind of pushed it over the top?
Well, it's really been in the works since April, when the president started his reciprocal trade program. Switzerland, like dozens of other countries, have been extremely interested in having market opening deals with the United States, where they open their markets to us and we modify the reciprocal tariff somewhat for them. Like all of the president's deals, we keep a tariff. We retain a tariff on these countries because we have to get the trade deficit under control. But because Switzerland, for example, has agreed to manage its trade surplus with the United States in terms of making sure that things where they have.
Real quickly, somebody asked if they should buy MSTX now. Man, I think we're so late cycle. Bitcoin went from 15 to 125,000. Is now the time to use a 2x leverage fund, which is giving you 2x daily. So really, it's like 3x of what it can do to you. So if Bitcoin drops another, let's say we enter a bear market. If Bitcoin truly drops another 30 to 40%, you're absolutely fucked. Say goodbye to all of it. So it's up to you, man. No, for me, no. I don't apply leverage here.
Have a surplus with us, pharmaceuticals, gold, et cetera. Their companies are going to build here, so it's going to eliminate some of the sources of that surplus. I mean, we've already seen.
I don't know, man. How far are you down, Alexander? Again, that's why I got out of BMNU and sold. It just seemed too scary to see how quickly they were depreciating.
Roche has actually broken ground already for a pharmaceutical facility in the United States.
Again, guys, what I'm saying, and I'm not recommending anything. I don't know your position. If you're heavy in cash right now, and you're not, and you didn't ride this down, and you're like, fuck, maybe I should have some fun, and your position, like, it all depends on you, right? If you're fucking rich and this is nothing for you, do whatever you want. But if it's like a lifeline or money you might need in the future, it could just go to dust. Wouldn't you much rather own MSTR and not have to worry about that?
It's really exciting.
Or own STRC and get like a 10 or 11% return? Because it can be higher and lower depending upon how it trades. But wouldn't you rather have like a 10% return on your investment and be safe if you don't have any safety at all?
Ambassador, there's a lot of conversation about affordability.
Yes, it can go down further. ASST can go down. Everything can go down further. It doesn't have to, and I think the probability is that it doesn't. I think oil continues to weaken. I think the dollar continues to drop. And Bitcoin should start going up against gold. It's a much bigger container. Gold is like, what, $22, $23 trillion right now. Bitcoin is less than 10% of that. It's like 8 or 9% of gold. Bitcoin should go up. But if your stomach hurts, then there's something going on, right, bro?
That seems to be the buzzword of the moment. Apparently, it was discussed with the president. And some.
I did leaps on Meta when Meta was down 75% in December of 2022. I wish I would have kept them longer. But do I think leaps are good on Meta right now? I don't know, man. It just all depends on what you think. Meta at least got kicked in the teeth a little bit. But use the options calculator and figure it out for yourself.
Some CEOs just a couple of days ago at the White House. I'm curious when you think about some of the tariffs that are.
Sounds like I've been caught overexposed. Yeah, that seems fair. I did get out of the 2X funds a while ago. I got out of MSTR 2X funds like ages ago, so I didn't have to ride that train down. I got out of MetaPlanet before it started really dropping hard. I did a great job getting people out of ASST when it shot up to $12, and then it went way down, and I got in at like a cost basis like around $1 on that one. There's things I did really well, but I've got plenty of mistakes this year. I got into miners. I mean, miners have been shit for like a year and a half, but the HPC ones did good. Luckily, I was smart enough to listen to Mike Alfred enough to get iron and then make about 1,000% off of some of those contracts. But I fucked up. Like Mara and CleanSpark sucked. I think I'm probably in the red off of those. I could have just held fucking stock and done better. Anybody who's still holding strategy is down like almost 70%. All those other products, you're decimated. I did a good job with Tesla. That saved my ass. Smarter Web Company absolutely sucked. MetaPlanet got destroyed. BMNR hasn't really done good either, has it? A lot of things have been fucked lately, especially if you were in crypto. If you were crypto heavy, you've been fucked. If you were in AI, you did a lot better. But could the AI trade be over? I don't know. The valuations are really high. I think they can go higher. I don't think it's over. But again, you just need to, I don't know, you need to do you. Today I reached my exit strategy target. I can't time this market. I prefer to re-enter when things bottom. Yeah, the hard part is knowing when that is. It could be today. Sai, today I know that was you. House Cards, do you think this AI pullback, or do you think the U.S. economy is really, I don't. I just gave a bunch of reasons earlier. If you didn't see it, I actually think we're doing really good. And I think what they're doing with these other countries, to lower beef prices and the coffee and all this other stuff is great too. And other oils, I think that's all great. I don't like quantum. I don't like quantum computing. It's done so good. It's done so good. And in like quantum computing and like nuclear, I don't know what I'm at. I'm probably at 3. I could be at 3 million right now. I've taken a heavy hit. But if I would have been in those 2X funds, I'd be just devastated right now. I'd be really down. If I was still, and what I lost the bulk in is those options. Since I didn't get rid of those Clean Spark and Mara options because I thought the seasonality was going to be good every other time it has been, I held on to options longer than I would have normally done. And so my November ones, I went from being up millions on Clean Spark and selling out of 55% of it to losing the other 45. And Mara, I think that's probably going to be lost too, unless it bounces really fucking quick. That's probably toast too. So again, my mistakes were not following my rules. And I should have never held. I mean, in the final month, when you have weeks left on your options contract or a month left on your options contract, I should have got the fuck out. That's what I normally do, right? Yeah, Disney. Fuck Disney. All right, I'm gonna get back to this. I want to listen to what the rest of what Greer has to say.
Have now been lowered on countries that export things like bananas and coffee and the like. Whether that's an acknowledgement to any degree that tariffs have raised costs to American consumers.
I was at 6.5 at my peak, but in all honesty, I never closed a day above 6. So yeah, it sucks. I'm down big. Again, if you've been in altcoins, guys, if you've been in the altcoin market or the Bitcoin like leverage space with miners, if you weren't an HPC, you've been utterly fucked. And if you got into strategy late, you've been utterly fucked. You've been fucked just about everywhere.
Well, it depends what the importers do with the tariff.
Lowest daily RSI on BTC since end of February. That's great, right?
Our assessment, and frankly, my experience as a trader.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys the truth, man. I don't want to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend like I'm doing great. I'm not. It's been a rough year. I was too tunnel vision on what was going to happen with crypto and Bitcoin, and it has not played out that way. And I don't think I'm alone. I think there's so many people that are in that same boat. And again, even getting excited about BMNR and Ethereum, most people came in late to that. I did better than most people on those trades, and most people came in late. And then they apply leverage because they're trying to catch up to what their targets were, and you just get utterly fucked.
Attorney out in the private sector is that when you impose a tariff, it ends up getting allocated along the supply chain, and the more foreign producers and suppliers you have, the more they eat that tariff because they want to compete to keep market share in the United States. If you're in a situation where you have a sole source provider overseas, then they're more likely to pass it along.
It could be
I've been in contact with a lot of U.S. companies that process or use things like coffee or cocoa or bananas or things like that, and they've said, listen, we've had some secular price increases over the past 2 years because of weather events in Brazil or other places like that. So when you look at the overall price trend.
We do have Saylor coming up right after this. Somebody said, why do I think it's over? I didn't say it's over. What I'm telling you is we went from $15,000 to $125,000. Even Tom Lee, as bullish as he is talking about like 170 to 200 by the end of the year. That's what he was saying before we started dropping like a rock. If you listen to his crew, they're like, fuck, little scary. And even Tom said, we might drop again today. We might drop again early next week until something closer to like Wednesday. So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah.
It hasn't been because of tariff. It's been because of these other events going on and just supply and demand. Now, if the tariff has been passed along to the consumer by these retailers, and a lot of them I think have withheld it, at least that's what they've told me, we expect that any price savings will go along to the consumer. I mean, that is the expectation.
Yeah,
we'll see what
exactly.
happens.
What was the rationale then for shifting?
Exactly. We're in the same boat as people like Tom Lee. Well, I mean, Tom Lee's in a really good boat because, again, he's a part of all this, and he's got like, he's in it without having to be in it. He's a part of it. Like BMNU or BMNR is something that he's benefiting from financially, right? So I'm sure. And so it's one of those things where he's writing it out better than we are. And Michael Saylor's a billionaire, so he is too. But they're down a lot, right? MSTR is down a lot. BMNR is down a lot. They're feeling this pressure too, just like we are.
Shifting the tariff prices for countries like Guatemala, for example, or some of the other countries where bananas and coffee and other things were coming in. I thought it was to make it more affordable for Americans, which to some degree is an acknowledgement that the tariffs raise prices on items like that.
Well, every trade deal has concessions on both sides, right? And so our concession to Ecuador and a lot of the other countries we're negotiating with right now who are close to deals but not quite there is to make sure that they can send us things that we can't make. It coincides with the concessions they're making to us to open their markets to American poultry, pork, beef, industrial goods, et cetera,
right.
our services companies. So this is part of the normal push and pull, but also coincides with the president's commitment in September that he was going to remove tariffs on some of these hard to find items or items we can't grow in the U.S. just due to the climate. I mean, it's something he signaled for the past 2 months, and now we have a critical mass of agreements with countries who make this stuff. So this is good timing.
Ambassador Greer, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Who's selling at these prices? People that are scared. If you've lost a ton of money and you don't like it's people that need the money. It's people that need the money. It's people that are leveraged, that are getting forced out, just like what we saw, here 3 weeks ago in the crypto space. Those people weren't selling because they wanted to. Those people probably didn't even know they were selling. They were getting liquidated. And there's people on margin where that could be happening right now. And we don't even know if we got all the fallout from last time. Anybody who was in the last crypto cycle knows that the real pain from like the Luna collapse and some of this other stuff came later. It was like a waterfall of companies collapsing. Now, I don't think we're anything like that right now. I actually still think we're going up.
All right, with the lack of jobs data from the government, Steve Leisman, or St. Eve Leisman, it was split on the prompter, and I just read what's there, St. Eve. He's been doing his own data collection, and he joins us now with some of his findings.
I'm going to adjust this.
Good morning.
Just a hair.
Other jobless claims from individual state reports. A bit on the high side for recent numbers, but nowhere near the warning sign when you start to worry about the job market there. Continuing claims, again, a little bit elevated, but came down 18,000 for the week of October 25th. Again, missing a couple states here. These numbers could change when the Department of Labor puts out the action. It does not herald jobless loss more towards that labor market during the 220.
Steve, $1,000, 600.
But if you want to ride the rocket, you got to be prepared.
And executive chairman. Good morning to you. What do you think? 150 by the end of the year? What do you think's happening here?
I think we all want to go to the moon, but if you want to ride the rocket, you got to be prepared to pull the G's. Over 5 years, Bitcoin's had like 6 brutal drawdowns. If you roll the clock back 13 months, we were sitting around 68,000. And then after the Trump election, we had this incredible rally from 68 to 106,000 in 5 weeks. If you go back 14 months, we were about 55,000. And so if you'd said we're going to go from 55,000 to 94,000 in 14 months, that would have exceeded any reasonable investor's expectations. Over 5 years, Bitcoin's up about 50% a year on average for the 5 years. Gold and S&P are setting the cost of capital at 14%. My company's strategy is up 71%, equivalent to NVIDIA. There's no other stock in the S&P that's done any better. So I think the volatility comes with the territory. If you're going to be a Bitcoin investor, you need a 4-year time horizon, and you need to be prepared to handle the volatility in this market.
So when you look at the price right now, and then we'll talk about the implications for strategy, but when you look at the price right now, what does the upside at this moment look like to you, and what does the downside in this moment look like to you?
I feel like we put in a
downsides.
pretty strong base of support around here. There's an incredible amount of leverage coming out of the system, a lot of liquidation. A lot of the OG holders were selling at the $100,000 level. And so I'm fairly comfortable at this level. I would think that we'll build from this base and we'll rally from here. Obviously, it's hard to make a forecast for the end of the year right now, given what's happened over the past few weeks, and especially the shift in the macro environment. But, as you know, my view is Bitcoin's going to
I do agree with that. And I think that's the thing we need to think about. Just be prepared mentally for all things. If there is some systemic thing, like a liquidity event we haven't experienced yet, as we sit at 95,000 in Bitcoin, that can change things very quick. Just don't be in leverage and be ready for any possible scenario. Because again, what if the Supreme Court says that the tariffs have to come off? And we've given $2,000 checks off of them, and we got to figure out how to pull those back, and all this other shit at the same time. It might not be a good experience for anybody. I don't know if I'm buying Archie or not. I don't think I'm going to execute, even though TLT's up on the day. I don't think I want to execute on that. I want to hold it. I want to keep it for if we really do have some kind of decent drop, because I believe that no matter what, that's going to turn out to be a good bet for me. And I'm not interested in trying to get max gains right now. I just don't care. I want to be smart and safe. I want to encourage people not to be in leverage, not to be in 2X funds, and not to be in margin.
outperform gold. It's going to outperform the S&P. It is digital capital. And so if you're a long-term investor, this is the place to be.
In terms of the way your fund is structured and the debt that you've taken out to effectively buy a Bitcoin, what are the trigger points, just so people understand the full risks involved for you, in terms of some of these preferreds and other things, in terms of where Bitcoin needs to lie, either on the low end?
Well, I mean, it's pretty important to note that we're not even 1.15 times levered. We're very fractionally levered. And
did you guys hear that? Not even 1.15.
And our debt that we have is 4.5 years out. So we don't really have any trigger points anytime soon. And if Bitcoin were to fall
again, we're talking about 2030s with a lot of their debt, and the debt that they did have was very, very low interest rate. So they're so well positioned. There's no liquidation risk here, guys.
80%, we're still over collateralized and we're fine. So our balance sheet's pretty stable. The company's strategy, just like an intelligent bank, would be to build amplification for the common stock using preferred equity. So the equity never comes due. It's a dividend payment declared by the board. It's not a coupon. We can't be in a default. There is no.
I'm willing to bet Tesla Boomer Mama has bought on a very small amount of margin, and she's talking about Tesla. Tesla's like one of my most bullish bets right now.
Credit defaults.
And I saw that post. She even said like don't do it, and then did it. So, I mean, I'm sure they're in a good place. She seems very capable and like a very smart woman.
Situation from the digital credit that we're selling at this point.
I was curious if you could comment on something we heard from Cathie Wood.
Why are people saying that MSTR is going to be liquidated? Because they're fucking stupid. It's not going to get liquidated at 75K. They have no liquidation risk. They have terms for their debt that aren't due for years, like think 2030. Okay? And so none of that makes any sense whatsoever. It could go to 20,000 tomorrow and they'd be fine. It could go to probably 15 and they'd be fucking fine because they were fine the last cycle and they're way better positioned this time. Everybody said the same thing last time. Everybody said it, but they didn't say it at all-time highs, or at least, off them from a month ago. They said it when Bitcoin was at 15K, but none of it ever happened.
Last week, she has a target, I think by 2030, she had it at $1.5 million a coin, and recently suggested it might actually be closer to 1.2, which is still pretty.
This guy is trying to be a bank. He wants to be a Bitcoin bank. Because he realizes that just like Satoshi Nakamoto said, that Bitcoin is going to replace banking. So he's trying to be that lender of last resort. He's trying to be that person who holds the most valuable, non-debasable asset on the fucking planet that you can transfer anywhere. Bitcoin didn't all of a sudden become worse than gold. People are just scared. They're going to gold. And I think China is giving a huge bid to gold because it's all they care about. But Bitcoin is still very, very solid, and the foundations and principles of it have not changed.
Pretty remarkable unto itself.
Yeah, people say negative things. But again, when I sold my BMNU and my SOLT, did I start just talking shit about Solana and BMNR and Tom Lee? No. You have to listen to people who might not be in something, but still give you objective fucking responses to things, right? I wasn't in iron, but was I shitting on it? No. Even after I sold it, I'm like, fuck, I regret that. Palantir. I thought that thing had topped. I put out some charts that it had. It just blew past all of them. Eventually, I gave up and realized, holy shit, this is an even better company than I could have ever imagined, and I regret selling it. You have to listen to people and be a person who will look at things with truth, even if they're not positioned that way. Those are the people that you should be listening to. The ones that change their story with the wind and flip on a fucking dime, and that don't change their mind, and that don't try and still give you a fair story suck.
And yet, when she explained her new rationale, it was actually that stable coins, the sort of.
Yeah, I shit on Disney because I hate woke bullshit, and Bob Eisner said that he was going to make it great again. Where are the fucking great movies? Marvel is a fucking disaster, and I don't need to see the rainbow flag every time I watch a fucking show. I don't need 20 black lesbian women in it, and then a bunch of guys that are like cucks and a backup role for whatever fucking story they're trying to tell. That could be Snow White. No, I mean, they suck, right? They're a piece of shit company, and that's why I think they're fucking garbage.
Sort of emergence of stable coins and the growth of those coins being used for transactions, she argued could ultimately crowd out some of the use case for Bitcoin. What did you think when she said that?
I think the entire digital assets economy is exploding and growing in a bunch of different dimensions. Right now, the way to think of it is that half of the economy is built around Bitcoin. It's digital capital. Bitcoin is
Yeah, I don't know what to tell people here. I don't give a shit about Mickey Mouse. I don't really fucking care about Disney. I don't watch any of it. I don't go to their fucking amusement parks anymore. I don't care what their revenue is. I invest in things I actually give a fuck about and understand. I don't know if people realize this, but you don't have to be in everything and just because somebody talks about it in the chat.
Digital gold, and the killer application on top of digital capital is digital credit.
Yeah, Nathan,
instruments like Stretch, STRC, credit instruments that pay yield. And that's a very simple business. The other half of the economy is digital finance, and it's going to be built on the proof of stake networks that are emerging, the Ethereum Solanas, the BNBs. And the killer application for that part of the digital assets economy is tokenized currencies, a la stable coins, tokenized securities, tokenized real-world assets, tokenized brands, and DeFi in general. Well, that's a very complicated technical development, and I'm sure that stablecoins are going to go from hundreds of billions to trillions of dollars, but it's not really competing with digital capital. No rich person wants to buy the currency instead of an equity or a real estate or a capital asset.
Michael.
Yeah, so he's saying it doesn't compete as a store of value, but he's saying stablecoins serve a purpose. I actually love that he's saying this. I think that's fucking great. I think that's great.
Given where Bitcoin's trading right now, are you buying?
We are buying.
Ross Gerber
We're buying
loves
quite
it.
a lot, actually, and we'll actually report our next buys on Monday morning. I think people will be pleasantly surprised. In fact, we've been accelerating.
A young
our
Michael
purchases.
Saylor.
Are you ever not buying, Michael?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, a little bit.
No, we're always buying.
He's wider
Bitcoin's
than
always
me.
a good investment.
But no, that's interesting, though, in terms of buying today at $95,364 versus buying 2 or 3 weeks ago. You're saying you're buying it at both. What's, if you were looking over the last...
Dude, he bought at 15, motherfucker.
Last year, sort of your average. What do you...
I think he started at 4 or some shit. So fuck off.
And do you weight the buying based on trading?
We now own nearly 3.1% of the network, and we bought it on a blended average about $74,000 a coin.
Now,
the point that I would make for any investor is, if you have money you don't need for 4 years or longer, and if you don't trust anybody, you want no counterparties,
like
you just want to own a piece of the global digital economy, you buy Bitcoin. It's the commodity. If you're an equity investor and you want to bet on digital credit and you want to bet on digital capital and you want some amplification, you buy an equity like MSTR. If you have money for less than 4 years and you're an investor and your time frame is 12 weeks, you should buy the digital credit. For example, the credit instruments we've created have stripped the volatility off of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's vol is like 45 on a trailing 30-day average. We have instruments at 28, 21, 15, and Stretch is a vol of 8. So if what you want is like a serious yield, you want the credit, you don't want the equity or the commodity.
We're up against a hard break. Mike, I want to thank you for joining us. We're coming right back.
Yeah, no, they don't get liquidated at the fucking price because they have no debt. They have no debt. It's just their debt comes due in 2030. That's what you need to understand, okay? It doesn't fucking matter, right? Are you guys worried about today, this year, for MicroStrategy? Are you worried about 2026? Are you worried about 2027? Because they don't even have debt coming due in 2027. Are you worried about 2028? Probably not. Are you worried about MicroStrategy? So if you're not worried about it in 2028 and their first debt that they're paying 0.65% coupon on comes in late 2029, are you really worried at all what the fuck happens? No. It's retarded that people are making that statement. I think they're just trying to short it. That's all I can say. I think they're trying to short it. And some people do that, right? Like, whatever. Here, I'm going to play this just in case we need to go back to it. I'm going to mute it, though. That way we can just kind of keep it live. Yeah, so again, people are going to be able to change their taxes. People are going to get $2,000 checks if you're poor. That should be able to help you. You're going to be able to change your taxes around for your withholdings and increase your income. That should help you. You're going to be seeing pressures from manufacturing companies and other businesses moving to the United States to avoid tariffs. That should help you. You're going to see immigrants, illegal immigrants being deported out of the country. That should help you. All those things should help you with income if you're at the lower end of the bracket. And that's a good thing and something that we want. Again, I just think that there's a lot of positives that people aren't looking at. And it pays to look at all of it. Here's what I want to see, though, guys, and I've said this. Not only do I want to see a bounce today, but I want to see us get above this purple line right here by the end of the week. That's Sunday, right? Sunday at 7 o'clock. I think it's 7 when we switch days. But I would love to see us back above 103 because it would be a really good sign. Again, above it, not just here, but it marked the end. If you look here, we stayed above it here and last cycle. We stayed above it here, fell underneath, got above, went underneath, started dropping. That was the end of the cycle right there, guys. You knew in the 40,000s that this bitch was done when it was forming its double top, kind of like iron did recently and a bunch of other things. I mean, the S&P, I think, even looks that way. But you could see where the 50 moving average, again, even back over here in this bull, you could see where once it confirmed underneath of it and then tested back up to it, just like it did over here, that marked the end for sure. You could have got out at that range if you hadn't gotten out up high, and you would have avoided the drop. And again, when it couldn't hold over here on the 50, and this is on the weekly time frame, it plummeted. That was pandemic times. I think it would have held there and we would have went up if there wasn't a pandemic and we would have started doing this. But that isn't the way the world worked out. An anomaly happened. Anomalies can happen. Just like the anomaly up here neutered us and gave us a double top last cycle. Now, maybe we aren't done. I think my base case is we pop up above this and then we just start going again. And maybe we actually do get a parabolic top, but maybe it's not a 4-year cycle. Maybe it turns into 4.5. I don't know. But I know this. We're not in overbought conditions on Bitcoin. We never really got there. We've never had that blow off top. And we do appear, if you look in the bottom right corner over here, to be finding some of that support around that 95 range. Still haven't closed that gap at 92 yet, I don't think. Let me see here. I mean, it's real close. It was 94. We were still like a couple thousand up. So maybe we see more downside pressure today and then we go up. Or maybe we close underneath this thing and we are looking at the end of the bull market. We test back up to that purple zone again, around 100,000, and then we reject and go off like we did the last 2 cycles. Maybe that happens. It's hard to know for sure with anything. Bitcoin has done really, really well this cycle. It did, right? Like if you just look at it, you get an 8 or a 9x Bitcoin. You can't be unhappy about that, even if you didn't get it and other people did. Tesla 2-year leaps, close your eyes these next few months and keep adding. You could maybe do that. I would be a little more worried about like what happens with the tariff ruling with the Supreme Court first. And then how much Democrats are going to fight. Again, January, guys, we got another fucking vote. Are they going to fight and shut this bitch down again? Is China going to buy the soybeans they're supposed to buy? Are we going to have more issues with them and have to raise tariffs again? Are the tariffs going to hold up? There's a lot of unknowns right now, which is why, even though I think we're bullish, I would just not get crazy excited and start fucking buying everything. Unless you're out. I mean, again, figure your shit out. It all depends on you. If you got a bunch of cash right now and you haven't been hurt and you're looking to get back in, this could be a great time to do it. I wouldn't want to be on leverage. Crunchy Shad, good morning. Time to buy yet or wait? Oh, that was you, Ryan. CleanSpark getting acquired. What? The fuck? What? What did you just say? Are they? Is that actual news? Or is this just a guess? I'm sorry. Ryan, what do you mean CleanSpark getting acquired? If you have something like that, can you post it and tag me? Yeah, I'm curious because that would be potentially very interesting post if CleanSpark is getting acquired. Oh, just guessing and hoping. Oh, fuck, man. Don't do that to me, bro. I won't ban you because I like you. All right. Yeah. Let's look here. So 95, 240, still seeing pressure in markets. Let's just look at some of these charts real quick and see where we're sitting. Iron still down 6.7%, recovering a little bit. Not much. Yield max, again, MSTY down 83% from where it was at earlier this year. Can you imagine that? Or I should say a year ago. In a year, you lost, if you had $1 million, you had 130,000 left. So yeah, my year has sucked. Getting cut in half sucks, dude. But from where my actual daily close was, getting cut in half sucks. But damn, dude, people don't realize 85% is so much worse than 50 or 90. It's so much worse. How do you trust pre-market prices? I didn't say it did. It's hard to know sometimes, but you could definitely see pressure building up in pre-market. There's a lot of pressure to the downside. MSTR was down 7% at one point. It's only down 4.33. So we're seeing a little bit of recovery. If we switch to like the 4-hour, you can see some of that. You can see a little bit of a bounce. But is that going to last? I don't know. I'm not saying anything. If I look at the 3-day, it looks like it's like the moving average, like it's finding some support, but that's not a normal one that a lot of people look at. We are getting close to that fib level. And again, it's down. What is it down? MSTR is down 63% from its high. I think that's a pretty good number. When you're down 2/3, that's pretty good. You're going to limit some of your downside risk. Ooh, we got, we weren't building enough houses. We got Vance talking about housing. If they actually go into an interview on that, I might pull that up. We need a Trump buy the dip tweet, and that could totally fucking happen, right? That's the thing. There's so many variables that can happen over a short period of time. I think you got to be somewhat long visioned here to ensure that you have safety. But if you have safety and you want to capitalize on some of the opportunity, I mean, it's probably a good time to do it. 97% almost down on, again, MSTX. Just brutal returns. I'm going to close these two. I don't need these. I never look at them. And let's look over here. We've got ARKG down 3.22% on the day. So again, it's gotten hit, but when you compare it to some of this crypto stuff, it's way better. And again, I think this is still a nice back test. I think it has plenty of time. Well, I mean, it would be nice if the weekly actually closed up here. But worst case, next week, if it bounced back up and it closed above it, that would be bullish too. So it doesn't even have to happen right away for ARKG to still look technically really great. I mean, again, all the volumes underneath of us. If you go over here, the peak volumes are all down at like 24.85. The trend has clearly broken since this thing started. It's like the cycle has been reset. It's way more likely to go up than down. Eric Trump going to be like, Dad, time to tweet. Or Barron, right? One of those two. Let's keep looking over here. It's 8:17, 13 minutes until pre-market. I might actually play some video for a little bit and take a breather. TLT is still up 0.41%. It was down yesterday when the market fell, but it looks like today it's making up. Again, I don't know that I'm making a lot of moves. I'm probably going to leave that. I still think TLT could be a savior if shit gets weird. So I'm going to leave my 330, 350 in that. Ago, Jesse, I'm not particularly religious, but could you say a prayer for us? I will do it in my head. I don't pray. I'm not religious either. So hey, please save us, God. Is that good? I feel like that's pretty selfish and not going to get answered. Mike, Trump really can't let this market drop continue. His approval ratings are so low right now. That is true. That is true. And here's the thing, man. Trump, I think what he's doing right now is great. But do I know with 100% assurity that he's not on the Epstein files? I don't. He could be. He might be guilty. They might fucking get him. He might go away. I don't know. These are things I don't know. Okay? I know that we're not getting that information, and I know that 83% of people believe that it should be released. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of diplomatic fucking buyer's shitstorm around that because there's probably people from all over the globe that are a part of it, right? It's not something you can get just put out there. But all kinds of things can happen. We just don't know. We don't know. All right. So TLT, I'm going to probably leave it alone. Gold is getting whacked today, guys. So this looks like a de-risking day. Look at this. This looks like a day where stocks should be flying. Gold is down almost 3%. Somebody's selling gold to buy other assets. This is interesting, isn't it? The dollar is weaker today, and it looks like it's still going to break down. And gold is down almost 3% in a day. We should close the government again. Jenna B, you think new Kamala? Yeah, Kamala would have been so bad. We would have been so screwed if Kamala Harris was president. Can you imagine? Right now, people are trying to build energy. What would they have done if Kamala was president? Would they be building energy? They'd be turning off nuclear reactors, dude. Do you think we'd be doing an AI build out with Kamala? She's borderline retarded. She's one of the dumbest people I've ever listened to. Just horrific. She's Ocasio-Cortez. At least Mamdani's not a moron. But like the waitress and like some of these other people, they're just idiots. They're sad. I honestly think an acquisition would be a good thing for CleanSpark. Well, they just did an offering recently for like a 1.1 billion, right? And those terms were actually really favorable. So I don't know. Here, one sec. I'm gonna play a little bit off of this. I'm gonna grab some coffee real quick. Okay, give me a second. I'm just gonna get to live here. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay.
Make money. If they make money, you can keep them.
We'll get to that. We'll get Kramer's Mad Dash for this Friday and count down to the opening bell.
Oh, I forgot. None of them make money. It's easier than I thought.
Oh, hi. Work here. I've been trying this UKG thing. Now I understand how I can help you, your customers, and your business. That is not my fault.
Wait time is approximately
Taxes was feeling unwelcome. Now Taxes is an open door, literally, to new TurboTax stores. Meet our experts in person. They're ready to do your taxes for you, so you can walk out with confidence. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax.
I can't stop being the doctor I am.
You take enormous risks.
All right. Sorry, I can see that went awry. Give me 1 second here. Let me put it back. We don't want to be playing that, right? Don't want to get smacked. Let's see what else. Feels like YouTube ad. Yeah, right. I think I pay like the best thing for YouTube TV too, and I still can't get rid of the fucking ads. If Kamala is president, we might be watching transgender Jesse now. Shut the fuck up. It's scary though. Yeah, you probably be watching a version of that, right? Somebody else. Not me. Victor, people data centers are a must in AI institutions getting in cheaper. Yeah, so I mean, again, Iron, CleanSpark. CleanSpark is really pushing. Nebius and CleanSpark are ones that are pushing really hard to stick around. And I think those could actually be interesting plays, right? I think that they could be interesting plays. Out of everything, I would trust that more than a lot of stuff. A lot of other speculation. I would trust that way more than like whatchamacallit. What am I trying to say here? Quantum or nuclear or stuff like that, because the build out's going to take forever and those things could end up dropping pretty hard. Just to be clear. Oh, but I would not be applying leverage on those things today. That I wouldn't be doing. I think that's a really dangerous play. I would not be doing that. Microsoft is interesting. In Portugal and Germany, data centers are real. Meta. Thoughts on Tesla? I think Tesla's going to be fine. I think Tesla, it's highly valued, but again, it's probably one of my favorite bets right now. And if it goes down, it goes down. I'm opening a very, very tiny position on BMNU and sold. Again, you can get totally fucking destroyed on that, but if you're okay with that and you understand the risk to reward, go for it, man. It's all yours. We are bouncing. We're seeing some of that, right? So that's a good sign. You want to see a bounce. In the middle of the night, our house. Oh, 1 second here. 95,608. We still look like we're climbing. Who is Mike Alfred? Mike Alfred is the guy who got everybody rich off of Iron and Cypher. and probably some other things too. He bought Open recently. He's gotten into ASST and speaks very highly of it. That is Mike Alfred. Big miner guy. Yeah. And yeah, he's a board member for Bakkt and ASST now. And then again, yeah, Iron and Cypher. Yeah, he's helped a lot of people make a lot of money. And he's still very bullish in markets. That has not changed. All right, what else we got here? You got me in Iron, Cypher. Alfred got me to stay. I hope he's right. Yeah, I got you into those, and then he got you to stay. Good. You followed a better path than I did. I feel good. We got to listen to I feel good. Tesla and Meta are great. Tesla and Meta are great buys. Yeah, Meta's fallen a lot, right? Let's go look at that. Let's look at that real quick here. Meta. I haven't looked at this chart in so fucking long. See, this is what scares me about Meta, though. Again, this is when I bought Meta, okay? I wish I would have held my contracts longer. This is where I bought Meta, and this tweezer bottom down here. This was a great place to do leaps on Meta. It was down 75%. It went up almost 800%, and now it's back testing the .618. Now, could it go up and break through this? I mean, Iron just did something like that recently. So maybe, but it's also a $1.54 trillion company. Are you bullish or bearish on BTC? I don't know. I'm bullish. I think it bounces here, but I want to be prepared for either circumstance. And I want to make sure that I have a year's worth of spending without tapping into income and without tapping into investments and being able to pay my taxes in April. So I'm going to err on the side of that level of caution, but still be bullish and think that it can go higher. And that's why I like things like ASST could still get crushed over the short term, but I think their SATA vehicle is great. And I think MicroStrategy is cheap in this range to me too. They're just not, there's no liquidation risk. So if one wanted to be safe, I think you could do plays like that and be super duper safe. And maybe CleanSpark, I think their deal with debt was pretty well timed. And it was at, 15 or something? The stock's at 11 now, so it's already depreciated so much from where they closed that deal. They closed that deal at the most opportune time. And then Iron is definitely the leader when it comes to these HPC plays. They're just so clean. Costs are good, well vertically integrated, energy in the right places. They've just done a really good job. ATM seems BTC bounced at 94.5. It totally could have. Or it could roll over more here in a second. We just don't know yet. It just depends. Again, there's so many variables that we might not know. The short term is the risk, right? That's what fucked me on CleanSpark and Mara. If I would have gotten out of that stuff thinking more long term, I would have been saved. And I would have had much, and by saved, I mean I'm a multimillionaire. I've got a pretty good life. I'm pretty saved right now, right? But what I mean by that is I could have had millions more, which would have been nice. The bell is about to confirm how poor I'm about to be. Good luck, Kirby. That's going off in a few minutes here. I hope you're not too poor. I'm heavy Tesla. I think heavy Tesla is a good place to be. As long as you're not a margin and shit. Caught offsides and trying to reposition for end of year, my 2 cents. Are you in AS? I got a couple 100,000 in ASST. I don't know exactly how much right now. I'd have to look. I want to say it's $250,000, but it moved pretty hard down yesterday. I think the hedges caught offsides trying to reposition. Oh, yeah, no, we read that. Mark says, he said he's buying on Axe. Could be worth a listen. Who did? Michael S. I don't know who that is. Down 500K. I don't know where you were at, but sorry to hear that. Victor, Tom Lee said that data 4, they're not in the market. Jesse, please don't close out your video today with spraying teams. I'm going down. That wasn't on my playlist. But yeah, I'll try and avoid that. Let's see here. The bell is about to start. Maybe I'll just turn on CNBC to hear it.
Beef's collapsing. I think that's really terrific for the American consumer. Starbucks insider buyer of $1 million and apparently not hurt by the barista strike. That's another one where coffee is not a huge percentage as people might think. But people buy Starbucks if they see coffee come down, and I think that Starbucks is, I'm going to now say, is getting ahead of the schedule of the turn.
You'll allow that it's a U-turn from it'll be paid by foreign countries, it's not going to cost Americans.
No, well, look, all I know is that the American consumer has is going to start not eating beef unless this happens because it's demand destruction. It's that bad.
The problem is the 4-hour, guys, doesn't show me that it's found a floor at all. I mean, maybe in RSI.
Let's get this opening bell, and you see this real-time exchange. With the big board, it is digital infrastructure company Verdin. Executive Chair David Cody's in the house. Going to join us at
all right, we're live.
In a moment.
Let's see what the heat map looks like.
Nuclear tech company Terrestrial Energy doing the honors.
I hope they're doing better than a lot of the other nuclear companies. You do these search for nuclear and for quantum and for bit, and you just say, 2000, 2000.
Gotta love it.
These are ground zero. And these are the ones that have to cease hurting people before we can advance.
So as you can see, that pre-market still looked pretty brutal over here if we just flip over. That's where we were at. We'll let this update into the daily. Thoughts on tax loss harvesting in some BTC treasury plays and rolling it into one of their peers? Again, that's all up to you. Everybody's different. Some people are in different countries. Some people don't have the concept of tax loss harvesting. But if you want to offset gains because you don't trust the treasury company and you think it can get crushed, then maybe. Metaplanet up, woohoo! I'm only down 75%. Yeah, something to get super excited about. Let's look at it real quick. So Meta down 2% today. It could be finding support on the .618 and bouncing. Be a great place for it. Palantir, it's hard to say, guys. This thing's down 2.74. It's not even really that far off its highs. Maybe people just keep loving it and buying the dip off of it. Metaplanet, again, look at that. We're way down here. This thing dropped. It's still down. It is still down 84, 85%. So you didn't ride that fully down, but damn, you got close, JT. You're real close. But yeah, it's up 1.67% in actual market. So at least something's going up. Thanks for staying with us on the down days. I really enjoy being with you and your friend. Hey, I'm happy to be here, man. I wish it was better circumstances, but I do think things are going to be all right. Again, Cypher still up 647%. Still dropping though. We're getting weak on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has not. On the 4-hour, we're in oversold territory, but you can go further than that on the 4-hour. Let's check the daily. The daily, we're just touching oversold territory, and again, we're at 95. This thing, we just got a big sell order. I'm going to keep that in the bottom right, guys, if you're looking there. Somebody dumped. Somebody capitulated or got fucked. Look at that. See that right there again. Look at that. Oh, dude, there's some pressure. There's something happened with that downside pressure. Got to run to my job sites. Cheers all. Yeah, see you, Joel. Take it easy, man. But you could definitely see. Look at some of these wicks. You know what? That's not the pressure. That's me clicking on this. For now, I'm just going to change this so we don't see it. There we go. There we go. Okay, that's better. That's better. We're not jumping too much. That's like old school Bitcoin there. But yeah, so you can see Cypher still dropping down 8-9%. BMNR is down 10%, or I'm sorry, 5.5%. But if you're in BMNU, you're down 11. Smarter Web Company down 13% today. 2X Fund of Solana down 7. Metaplanet only up 0.76. CleanSpark down 8.5. Bitfarms. Let me see here. Bitfarms. All right, I don't know. I lost that one. Mara down 5%. Let's see here. Tesla down 4.4. So it still looks like we're dropping. But maybe not for long. If the velocity slows down, we could turn around. ASST down 5.65, so it's recovering off of its lows today. Frickin' ZEC keeps going up. So everybody's trying to put their money in a hidden cryptocurrency. Zcash, for people who don't know it. It's the original thing, one of the original things I started mining. How do you think the day will evolve? I think down, then up. I think the worst of it we saw in the morning, but who knows? Yesterday definitely got worse into the close. So we had that momentum still dropping us lower. Like Tom Lee said, maybe we still have negativity. If we get like a Supreme Court judgment or something, I don't know. There's so many things that could be negative headlines that I feel like could push us lower. But if we don't get negative headlines, it feels kind of bouncy. Bitcoin's at 95.5. So maybe we go up. Maybe until NVIDIA earnings, possibly. But those aren't even that far off. It's Friday. So we got, what, Monday and Tuesday? And then maybe people start front-running a pop in NVIDIA earnings. Bitcoin right now at 95.7, guys. It looks like it's bouncing. Oh, it looks close. It looks close, guys. It looks real close. And like if ASST goes back to the .618, which seems very doable, right? Did it here, did it here, did it here, dropped really hard, off of legitimate, like there's been a lot of dilution over that period of time. 95.8 now, creeping higher. ABTC is up 5% on double revenue beat. Leave it to Eric Trump and his team. Look at BTC. So it's over for crypto? No, I don't think it's... Well, maybe shitcoins. How are shitcoins doing? I haven't even looked. Maybe they're starting to bounce back today. Anybody care about shitcoins? The day for shitcoins. Zcash. Look at that. STRK. Do people think that this is a... I don't know. Interesting. Like a Michael Saylor product? 96.155, guys. This looks like the bounce. Weak. Again, there's some select ones doing okay, but like even Zcash is down 22% over the week. And over the month, oh, I can only imagine. Well, there's some winners, but still down a third, roughly, for a lot of these, 25 to 30%. So shitcoins have kind of already been washed out. Look at PingU. Let's see how bad that's been. Year. So PingU was at 43 cents or something. Yeah, 43 cents, and now it's at what? Or I'm sorry, 0.043. Now it's at 0.12. It's down 75%, almost 70%. Tesla bouncing a bit. Nice. Are we going to be okay? Look at QQQ, bounce since open. Awesome. Yeah, let's look back at that. Let's look at the heat map. Let's look at the heat map. What are we doing? That's not the heat map. There. Where did I put you? Why did I put you up front? Oh, I put you over here. Here. Let me refresh. Sound, nice gap, close. Iron bounce, good. One gift membership. Thank you, Paul. That's very kind of you, sir. Yeah, it's feeling bouncy, guys. We're at least seeing. Let's go to the hour here. That's probably better. Oh no, that doesn't really count, does it? Because we were in pre-market before. It does feel bouncy. Mara's only down 1.5%. CleanSpark's only down 3.8 now. So I think we're going to bounce, guys. This is a good bounce formation. Again, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, guys, that deep green area, basically we went all the way down to like 94, like low 94s, and now we're up to 96.2. It's not perfect. It could still roll over. I mean, you don't know until you know, but this looks good. If we ended the 4 hour here or better, ideally getting maybe above 97.5, that's what I'd like to see. Let me move this. I'm probably going to end in a little bit anyway. So I want to end with this. You see this line right here? Here. This is where the wicks are. Here. And now here. I would love to see this. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to like get rid of this for now too, so I don't have to see it. Okay. I would love to see us scream up here and close above 97.8 at least today. And then ideally, guys, we want to be about around 103 up here. And that is on the weekly time frame. And I'll just show you this chart one more time. Let me get rid of this. Right over here. So look at this. I would like us to be back up here in like the 103 range. That way we just continue to show that, hey guys, we went down, we tested it, it failed. We couldn't even drop under 94. Or if things drop a little bit further, we couldn't even drop under like 92.88. We got to bounce, and we closed the weekend on Sunday above this. That is what I would love to see. I feel like that would be such a great way to get confirmation that we're headed up. Iron might be a good buy at negative 30. If you're not using leverage, I totally agree with that. When does the weekly close? On Sunday at 7, I want to say. It could be 6. I don't remember. It depends on daylight savings time, and I can't really remember where we are. I don't really pay attention to closes lately. So now we're at 96. I don't know. Again, guys, we could go either way. I say just make sure that ASST's flat. You're right. It's down to 1%. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. But anyway, I love you guys. I hope you do well. I hope you all make a bunch of money, and I hope, most importantly, you stay safe and you're good for your future and not just the next month. So, again, I will try and be here for you on the days that count. I know today is a hard one. Hopefully it ends up being a really easy one. We're at 95.8 now. I'm rooting for you guys heading into the end of this day. I'm rooting for you guys heading into next week. I do think it will get better. I don't think the sky is falling. It fell pretty hard in the last month. Last 3 weeks, it fell pretty hard. But anyway, I love you guys. Take it easy. Stay out of trouble. And I'll talk to you Monday.